Now they leave and they decide to go get a bottle of Bacardi 151. And around 7 o'clock, they decide to take this bottle to the park and drink it to the head. And the alcohol starts flowing, and now they arguing. You see, Terrell thinks that China was cheating on him around the time that she got pregnant. And now he's trying to figure out who cares what that is. China's like, nigga, you heard that. You ain't nobody cheat on you, da 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 da. And he was like, you lying ass. I know you did. And that's why I've been fucking with the neighbors. So they end up back and forth for about 2 hours at this point. They decide to finally leave the work and they go home. Both still upset. Both very drunk. They stay outside the house for a little bit. And China walks into the house around 9:30, 10 o'clock. They continue to argue. Terrell ends up slapping China. China ends up biting Terrell on the lip. And Terrell decides, you don't stand for this. And he leaves. Now, after Terrell leaves, his sister Liana is still there. And Liana can see how drunk China is. She's like, the girl can't walk straight, can't see straight. China decides she gotta go pick up some cigarettes. Her nerves so bad. She decides she's trying to drive to the store. And Liana said, no, girl, you're way too drunk to get to the store. So Liana drives her down the street real quick, pick a pack of cigarettes, goes back, give it to her. Leaves China there, go brings Terrell his keys so he can get back in the house later that night. Now China, she hear the kids sleep, she hear at this house, she's pissed, she's pacing. She can't believe Terrell had the nerve to walk out the house like that. Now it's late. It's getting to be real, real late, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And she gets her baby, Paris, 28-day-old Paris, picks her up and puts her in the microwave and sets the microwave for 2 minutes. China walks outside while the microwave goes, comes back in the house. She takes Paris out of the microwave and puts her into like a little baby tub of water and begins to wash her baby. And skin kind of just starts floating off onto the tub, like literally just peeling off of her. After she gets out the tub, she dresses Paris and she lays Paris on the couch. And then she sits on the other couch and she kind of passes out there. Now Terrell comes home, he sees Paris on the couch, he sees China on the couch. And he been drunk as hell, he tired too, so he crawled up on the couch behind China and decides to go to sleep. The next morning, Terrell wakes up and goes over and he grabs Paris, but Paris is cold and Paris is stiff. And Terrell starts freaking out. What the hell happened to my baby? So China's like, oh shit, let's get the other kids ready for school, get them on the bus, and then we can go to the hospital. That's what she does. Oh Lord. So, on August 30th, 2005, China and Terrell arrive at Children's Medical Center around 7:15 a.m. Now, Paris is a baby, like 28 days old. That's it. Not even a month. And upon arrival, Paris had a temperature of 95 degrees. She had no pulse, no respiration, no blood pressure. And medical staff is like, she's not responding. So they do everything that they can to try to resuscitate Paris for 15 minutes before they officially have to call it and they pronounce her dead. When they call it, both China and Terrell are in the room. And Terrell, you can tell that he's like upset about this. He's crying, he's like, my baby, oh my gosh, what the fuck, how did this happen? And the medical staff is like, what's going on with her skin? Was she burned? Like, something happened with her skin. Tell us everything. And the hospital, they will ask multiple times, what happened again? What happened again? Tell us what happened again. It looks like this. Can you tell us what happened again? It's like, she wasn't burned or anything. Her skin is just peeling off. I don't know. Her skin was peeling off last night, and we said it was going to come in the morning. Here we are. She was alive for sure. I don't know. Like, she wasn't burned. She didn't burn. Her skin was just acting up. I don't know. It's a newborn. I don't really know. And hospital staff just could not believe it because one thing they noticed was that Paris is here in a nightgown, a nice, clean, pristine nightgown. So that means she wasn't burned or injured in said nightgown. If she was injured, right, or even if her skin was peeling all night, you would have some type of indication of that on the nightgown that she's wearing right now. So the hospital staff is like, we're not buying that. They called the authorities, but they started their own investigations. The nurses and the doctors were like, absolutely not. Something is going on. They said that they were, quote, mystified and puzzled, end quote, by Paris's injuries. And one of the main things is like they're they're medical professionals, right? They've seen burns before. So they're like, this is a burn for sure. These are burns on her body, but these don't look like fire burns. It doesn't look like scalding water burns. That happens a lot with kids getting too close to the stove and like scalding water accidents happen a lot. They're like, so these are not burns that we've come across very often. And so one of the doctors, Dr. William Mattray, goes up to Paris and looks her dead in her eyeballs and says, listen, your baby has burns on her face, on her body, on her limbs, pretty much the whole front half of her. Backside seems to be fine. Level with me. How did this happen? And China is like, what? My baby has been burned? I don't understand. There's no way that this could have happened. And then so they're like, okay, well, if you don't know, and you know what? You know that morning after, like, somebody is drunk, and you can still smell the alcohol on them, even if they brush their teeth? I bet they smelled that on them, and it was like, these fucking idiots. Probably to both of them, like, these fucking idiots do not know what happened to this baby. But they kept pushing. They kept pressing. So I'm like, okay, Miss Hungover Drunk, can you tell me what happened last night? Tell me about your day. And she's like, okay, so last night I got home, we had a scene, so I got home around 2 o'clock in the morning, and of course my baby is like a baby, so she had to eat. She left it on my phone, so I tried to give her a bottle, but she just wouldn't take the bottle, and I didn't understand why she wouldn't take the bottle. And when I touched her, she was really nauseous, so I thought she has a fever or something like that. So I put her in the bassinet, and I said, where that fan at? And I put a fan on her, and I just had it blow on her all night. She had to lower her temperature. And then I woke up in the morning, I'm getting the kids ready for school, and I could tell, I got other kids, so I could tell that something about her, she wasn't acting right, so I rushed her here to you guys. I don't know. And they're like, okay, well, your baby daddy is here. How does he play picture? She's like, well, when I was on the way here, I called him, and I was just like, something's wrong with the baby. Come with me, we gotta go. So the hospital staff is like, none of this story is giving me what I need. It's all sounding like a lie, and none of it is explaining the injuries that are clearly on this baby's body. But don't you worry your pretty little head. Police are on their way. The hospital will call the people on you. Children's, they gonna call the people on you. So the people show up, and they take them down, both Terrell and China, to give formal interviews. China and Terrell agreed to let the officers search their apartment while they were down at the station because they needed to know what the fuck happened to this baby. You tell me there's no burns, we clearly see burns, girl. When China makes it down to the station, she talks to Detective Galbraith, and China's story that she told the hospital staff changes just a hair. Instead of getting home at 2 a.m., she now tells the detectives that she got home around 9:30 or 10 o'clock p.m. And immediately she goes to sleep on the couch with Paris on her chest. She says that Paris woke up crying around 2:30 in the morning, and so she decides to heat up a bottle to feed Paris. She changed her diaper, then laid her back down on the couch, put Paris back on her chest, and that's where we were. I had Paris, me and my baby was sleeping for the rest of the night. And so I wake up the next morning. Jarrell's covered up next to me. I don't see Paris, but I see Jarrell. So I just assumed that he took the baby, put her in a bassinet upstairs, and decided he wanted to cuddle. And so the police asked her, they're like, okay, was anybody else at the house? Any other adults? And she's like, no, I was alone with the children for quite a while. And like I said, I fell asleep. And then Terrell showed up. That's when we noticed that something was wrong with the baby. But we couldn't tell. We just didn't know. And they're like, well, your baby is dead. So, like, we need more answers. And she's just like, I don't know. I don't have any answers. Like, that's the story. She was like, I was just so drunk. I don't know. Maybe if I hadn't gotten so drunk, I guess my baby would have died. And I know that detective was like, well, I didn't have to be a fucking certified detective to know that, bitch. It's pretty difficult to be drunk as hell and take care of a 23-day-year-old. Even if you don't fucking breastfeed. They're going to be pissed drunk. The detectives come in and they talk to us. And he's like, tell us what happened. He was like, listen, after me and China got into it with you, I was really pissed off. Shit started getting crazy, so I built. And so I ended up getting into about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I got home. I lay on the couch with China. And then I got up in the middle of the night and I laid on the couch for periods. And when I got up in the morning, the periods was like face down.
Oh shit, I forgot I had this shit on my eyebrows.
What about the babysitter? Your sister, Yolanda? Could she have possibly been the one to give birth? She said, I went in my house that first time. My baby was sitting in her closet. She was asleep and she was alive. Babysitter ain't had nothing to do with it. I was like, okay, this another person, you know. Leona said she ain't had nothing to do with it. You say she ain't had nothing to do with it. They're like, listen, do you mind if we search your apartment and kind of see what's going on here? And he's like, nah, do your thing. Do what you gotta do. China gives him permission to. Police know that Paris has been burned, but they don't know by what. They're told by the coroner that it's a thermal burn, so they're not looking for anything like an open flame or like a hot stove. They're looking for something like that creates a thermal energy. And they said that these burns looked horrible. Horrendous is the word that they use. And they also had to find something that would only burn part of her body, right? Because she's only burned on the front side, but her back is completely fine. Detective DeBorde is looking for a cooking tin. He's looking for heating pads. He's looking for anything rectangular that could have caused this, that the burns can fit in. The microwave is in there in the apartment, sitting on the counter, but nobody would think to check the microwave, right? And what they did find was a plastic tub, a little baby tub upstairs, and the water was cloudy and it had sediment floating into it. It had sediment that was skin. And they also found a damp towel in the bathtub that had Parker sediment in it. So they're looking all over the house. This is pretty much the only clue that they have is this cloudy bath water. So they're like, okay, let's talk to the neighbors. One neighbor is like, oh, yeah, I know that Terrell's sister was watching the kids the night before. Like, word? You got her name? Yeah, I think her name is Leonda. They go and they talk to Leonda. They was like, listen, you got anything to do with this baby being injured? She says, absolutely not. But I tell you what, they was both drunk as fuck. My brother, he left that night. But China was there all the time. And she was drunk out her fucking mind, couldn't walk straight. She tried to drive to the store. I was like, girl, you was way too fucked up to drive. Let me do it. She was like, but no, the baby was fine when I left. I ain't do nothing to that baby. Why would I hurt a baby? So they talked to other neighbors in the neighborhood. And another neighbor says that they saw China outside on her porch at 4 a.m. They also say that they seen Terrell and China arguing earlier that evening. The detectives, they go back and they talk to China. And they're like, hey, so tell us what happened again. You and Terrell, y'all left the house at some point? She was like, oh, well, we did around 7 o'clock. And then we got back home. We sat outside. We didn't actually go inside the house until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it was like, okay. And when you got home, who was there? She was like, Leonda, she was still watching her baby. And from there, her story continues to match the story that she told the doctors at the hospital. They take a break, let her sit a little bit, and they go back, they ask her some more questions. Between these questions, she does not leave the police station. That is her third time interviewing her. They've got what the neighbors said, they've got what Leonda said, they've got
what they found in the search warrant. And she's really trying to explain it away. First, they're like, were you and Terrell arguing at night? And she was like, I wouldn't say we was arguing. We was more like having a discussion. Neighbors are describing it as arguing. And so it was like, we want to know, what were you arguing about? She was like, oh, Terrell, he just don't really like the way I drive. It seemed like y'all was in an argument over something a little more than driving. And so she was like, okay, we was actually arguing about who Paris' real daddy is. You don't think it's his. And I was like, okay, that sounds like that might be what y'all was arguing about. Then they was like, okay, well, neighbors said they seen you on your porch at 4 a.m. And she was like, no, I don't think I was on my porch. She was like, they said that they seen you. And she was like, I mean, I might have been on my porch. It's possible that I was on my porch. And they was like, well, why were you out there? She was like, well, I was just out there because I was waiting on Terrell to get home because when he left, he took Paris with him. It was like, he took Paris with him. Now, you said that you had Paris tonight. If he took her with him, why wouldn't you tell us that before? And she was like, I'm really not trying to get Terrell in trouble. I just wanted to protect him. And so it was like, when Terrell came back with the baby, was the baby burned? And she does not respond. Now, the last thing they asked is about this cloudy water. And she was like, oh, that? I was just giving my baby a bath. And I just forgot to pour out the bath water. And so this information that they got, Terrell's story seeming to match and fit in with everybody else is saying, but China is not. And so this gives the detectives a lot to think about.
This episode is brought to you by Enterprise Mobility. From fleet management to flexible truck rentals to technology solutions, Enterprise Mobility helps businesses find the right mobility solutions so they can find new opportunities. Because if your business is on the road, they want to make sure it's on the road to success. Enterprise Mobility, moving you moves the world. Find your road at enterprisemobility.com.
Grandpa's here.
Hank's always helping out, grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi and enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRES, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
The investigators have seen and heard all that they know from Terrell, and their sights are really narrowing in on China because, girl, it's all in the milk ain't clean, and it's not just that baby tub water. And so they let Terrell go, and they told China that she is under arrest for child endangerment. And I know that they have her for that, but of course they are looking to hit her with large charges as the case develops. From multiple people's accounts, Terrell, Leonda, the neighbors, they know that China was the only adult at that house for quite a while. And before that time period, all of the children, including Paris, were safe and sound. And after that time period, there was a problem with Paris. So we clearly know that you're the missing link, and we need to figure out exactly how that link clicks in together. And so with the child endangerment charge, they're continuing to figure out, where did these burns come from? How did this poor baby die? There has to be more to the story than what's being told. The medical examiner does the autopsy and determines that Paris's death was caused by an elevated temperature, which was caused by thermal injuries. So we know it wasn't just baby got a fever and parents were trying to control it and took too long to take her to the hospital. No. There were thermal injuries, and we need to figure out where those thermal injuries came from.
Want me to put your case
So
back
she's
on?
in jail. She's released a few days later. And a funeral was held for Paris on September 9th, 2005. And it almost goes quiet for a little while. And it wouldn't be until 2006 when the coroner was introduced to this new study that was going on. There were these microwave experiments where scientists, or in a controlled environment, or maybe it was just rednecks, I don't know, they were putting these small pigs, like the size of a newborn, into a microwave and recording the injuries. How did the pig cook? And there also was a case in Virginia where an infant had been found dead inside of a microwave. And so the coroner just, I don't know, doing his continued research for his job, continuing to learn and grow in his field, caring about his job, is looking into these other cases and says, the burns on those pigs and the burns on that baby in Virginia look very, very similar to this case I did not too long ago. And he's like, hey, let me look at this Paris case again. Actually, these burns are almost identical. So in May of 2006, the coroner is talking to the police and is like, hey, I think I got more information that'll help lead to what happened to the death of this baby. And on May 18, 2006,
Sorry, did you ever find the offensive sharpie?
and they go right up to 415 Hall Avenue to China and Terrell's apartment, knock on the door, thinking that they're going to find it. The door opens, China and Terrell don't live there no more. The apartment is actually completely abandoned. Nobody lives there. There's no couch. There's no bassinet. There's no children's toys. There's no nothing. But you know what there are? Appliances, including a microwave. And this time the police are like, that one right there. Get that microwave, bring it out. Testing was done on the microwave, and the examiner from the Miami Valley Crime Lab found a partial DNA profile from the ceiling of the microwave that matched Paris's DNA. And they also determined that a baby the size of Paris could have fit in that microwave.
And she probably still using that microwave too.
I absolutely think that she was. Because you got to keep the facade up for Terrell and for the kids. She still had 3 other children. They microwave food all the time. I think it's like, you don't clean your microwave? You don't clean your microwave? The coroner is doing some further testing. He's really getting into this case, doing his due diligence, and he realizes that the burn patterns on Paris are consistent with the heating elements of the microwave oven. I don't know about Taz, but Taz loves herself a microwave. If she goes to someplace and they have pasta salad, she's like, I want this warmed up. Anyways, the top of the microwave is the fan, and it's where the heat comes from. The way that microwave was designed, that particular one, he could tell that those heating elements match the burns that Paris sustained. But remember, Paris's burns were on.
Sure. Don't do too much, please.
And so he could tell that
Actually put it on very low, and all those
heating elements
you get the candle
as the microwave was turned on for 2 minutes and cooked alive. According to the autopsy, Paris died no earlier than 1 a.m. and no later than 3 a.m. on August 30th, 2005, once the microwave reached 107 to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. I was about to say, did she hear baby scream? But I forgot she turned the microwave on and then went out to the porch. With all of this new information, China was finally arrested on November 27, 2006, and charged with the aggravated murder of her daughter. She was taken in and housed at the Montgomery County Jail. On December 7, 2006, she was indicted for those charges with a specification that she had profusely caused the death of another who was under the age of 13 at the time of the offense and was the principal offender in the commission of the offense. While she was in jail awaiting trial, China found herself a boo. That's right. She had a cellmate named Linda Williams. And in March of 2007, her and Linda started being more than friends, more than roommates. And
bunk buddies.
Basically. And so China felt really close with Linda. So China would confide in Linda, sweet, sweet Linda. And allegedly, while they was cuddled up one night, they started talking about each other's crimes. Why are you in here? Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Why are you in here, baby China? And China told Linda about what happened that night. And with all this time waiting in jail, it's finally China's turn to
In January 2008, China is headed to trial. She's up against prosecutor David Francelli, and she is represented by John Paul Ryan. Now, a lot of what was presented at trial by the prosecution was circumstantial. China doesn't have any DNA saying that she is the one who did this, but she was determined to be the only adult at home at the time of Paris's death. They also have a statement from China from the night that the incident happened, where she said, "I killed my baby." But the defense is arguing that China didn't mean she killed her baby. She just means that she didn't protect her baby. They said China was too drunk to commit this crime, and it couldn't have possibly been her. Dr. Marcella Fierro testified that the burn patterns were different from burns that she's seen in other cases, and stated that the girl likely died after being burned in a microwave oven for more than 2 minutes. She said, quote, "I'd say several minutes given the degree of burning." She identified where the burns on Paris's body were found. It was on her torso, her limbs, and her face, because all of the heating elements of the microwave are on the top. And so, of course, her back is perfectly fine, and just the front half of her body is burned. And she eventually just died due to excessive heating. An emergency room physician testified that when China was there the night of the hospital and said that her baby hadn't been burned, the skin was just falling off, they were incredibly shocked. They said, China said, "My baby's burned," when they first asked her about it. And he said, like, how can I be asked that question? The injuries are obvious. I guess I was just disgusted. Detective Doyle Burke testified that when he went into the house and was searching for what could have been the cause, he found that tub full of water and sediment, and he said the sediment looked like skin to him. So basically, when she's washing this baby, the skin is just falling off and was left floating in that tub. Now, when asked if they searched the microwave during their initial search of the home, they said no, they didn't. They didn't even know that a microwave could burn like that. And they also spoke to the testimony that was given by China during the investigation. They said that her story changed several times. She could not keep it straight. Even one time mentioning that she locked 3 of her kids upstairs and that the baby was gone with the father, trying to eliminate other suspects or take the heat off of her by saying the baby was with Terrell. Next, they get a forensic scientist to testify that the DNA sample found on the top of the microwave belonged to Paris and not China. They felt like this evidence alone was enough to implicate China. They even continued their investigation while in jail and talked to some inmates who were locked up with her. They talked to Janine Hudson and Ashley Schott, who said that they heard China say, quote, "She didn't mean to do it," after someone taunted her about a microwave oven one day. They also said that while they were getting their hair braided, China was braiding another lady's hair when she said, "I already told you guys I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it." So they're seeing a lot of admissions of guilt. They also get Linda to testify. And Linda says on or about March 27th, she's having a conversation with China about the death of Paris. And Linda says that China told her that she and Terrell were arguing about who Paris' daddy was, and that Terrell was threatening to leave her. So after he walked out and China was so drunk, she left and came back. And Linda said she asked her straight out, did she do it? And at first China said she didn't remember. Then Linda said she asked her again. And that's when China told her that she put the baby in the microwave, started it, and then left her house. So then Linda's like, I let that sit with me for a while. And then the next morning, China wakes me up before breakfast. And China, I guess, had to get it off her chest. So she says she did put the baby in the microwave. So Linda asked, how'd you get her in there? And she said she fit right in. Linda says at this point she got real upset. She wanted to leave. I got really furious.
Linda said, this relationship is too much for me. Too many secrets.
You never know what you're going to get out of a Cheerio box. Listen, Linda said she wouldn't fuck with that shit at all. So then Linda was like, why? Why did you kill Paris? To which China responds, because Terrell said that if the baby wasn't his, he was going to leave me. And I guess China wasn't too sure about if the baby was his or not. Spoiler alert, it was his baby. Linda testified that China was more concerned about the baby not being his than anything in the world. That's what she was more concerned about. Now, also understand, the defense comes back and is like, listen, the day after this incident happened, you spoke to our detective, or you spoke to one of the detectives, right? Detective Galbraith. And she's like, yeah, I did. And she was like, and he asked you, had you had any conversations with China, didn't he? And she said, yes, he did. And he was like, so what was your answer? And she was like, I told him she really said nothing. Or I couldn't remember what she said. And she's like, so how are we getting to this testimony? Now the prosecution comes to you months later, asking if you heard it, and you miraculously remember this conversation. To which Linda responds, I just wanted to tell the truth. I'm here for the baby. That's it. They asked her if she knew anything else, and she said no. So now the trial is about to end. They're ready to close this out. And then, whoop, stop the press. Terrell is out talking to the news. And Terrell said to the news people that an 8-year-old boy, China's nephew, referred to in the court documents as MQ, said that another boy, 5 years old, referred to as DT, put the baby in the microwave and turned it on. So the 8-year-old said that he saw the 5-year-old put the baby in the microwave and turn it on. Now, the defense is like, hold on, because if the 5-year-old did it, that means China did it, which means we need to look into this because this is possibly something that's going to set her free. So the trial ended up ending in a mistrial due to this exculpatory evidence, and China went back to jail for her second trial. So here we are, August 2008, and trial number 2 is underway for Miss China Arnold. Now, in this trial, the judge rejected a plea by China's attorney for a minimum sentence of life in prison with the chance of parole after 25 years. In the trial, the state and the defense pretty much presented the same evidence that you heard Taz say before in trial number 1. Now, for this trial, lover Linda could not be located. Maybe Linda got out of the system. She didn't want to get called back. Can't find me, don't want you to find me. And that seemed to be a big blow. However, they had Linda's initial testimony recorded, so they just used that as a part of the trial. Now, remember, the reason for the mistrial is because there's the 8-year-old and 5-year-old. 5-year-old known as DT, 8-year-old known as MQ. Now, MQ, the 8-year-old, says that he saw the 5-year-old DT putting the baby in the microwave. And there are these two people, adults, grown-ups. Their names are Demetrius Miles and Terry McDonald. And they say that little DT, at 5 years old, told them that he put the baby in the microwave. And so, of course, they're trying to tell the court that this 5-year-old told them that, but that's hearsay. You can't go off of what somebody else told you. So it's like, are we going to be able to get a statement from a 5-year-old? Also, is a 5-year-old a credible witness? And DT's mom says, this can't be possible because my baby wasn't even at the house at the time of all this going down. So 5-year-olds talk, they hear rumors, they hear what adults are saying. You have a 5-year-old around a whole bunch of adults gossiping about China putting a baby in the microwave. Next thing, the 5-year-old is at his PlayStation or his play area putting a baby in the microwave. Maybe that's what it is. And so the defense wanted to use past statements to show that little DT was lying because they knew that the 5-year-old had already denied those statements. Like maybe he got scared. He was like, wait, I'm just playing. So the defense, of course, they want to use these statements. Again, it's hearsay. These adults, Demetrius and Terry, they didn't see DT do it. DT just said that he did it. And then, of course, later DT says he didn't do it. He's 5.
So the defense was trying to get them to talk to the 5-year-old and get him to confess that he did it because that would let China off the case. But the court wasn't allowing that. China did not get up and testify in her own defense. However, a couple of statements were read from her attorney. In those statements, she claimed, "I am innocent of these charges." She said that she loved her baby with all her heart and regrets drinking the night of her baby's death to the point of not remembering what happened. Her attorney says, quote, "We have a mother who has lost her own daughter. That will plague her and follow her like a shadow for the rest of her life and into the next." Now, the prosecution in closing statement said, listen, the only remorse here is that she got caught. And with those closing statements, the jury goes out, they deliberate, they come back on August 29th, 2008, and they find China guilty. And this offense was charged as a capital crime. And she waits just a little while until September 2nd of 2008. And then the sentencing phase begins. And everybody's trying to figure out what her sentence is going to be. Now, this is a capital crime. So the death penalty is 100% on the table. China files a motion for a new trial because after the trial ends, Linda's got amazingly horrible timing. She calls the Montgomery County Jail and she says, "I'm ready to tell the truth." And it's like, what? What, girl? Where have you been? This entire trial that I've been going through. You fucked me up on the first trial. Second trial, you weren't there. They threw down the gavel. And you not ready to tell the truth? But it's okay, because we're going to try to get it. So the defense goes to Linda, and Linda says that she was manipulated into giving a testimony, the testimony that she gave, because the prosecution's office made promises to her. You help us get your girlfriend in jail and you'll get out of jail. She also, in that motion, offered the testimonies again of Dimitri and Terry about what DT had told them, because she says the prosecution coerced them into recanting their statements. And so she's like, it's all a conspiracy. They're all working against me. I didn't do this, and I have proof. The system is working how it wants to work, but they're actively working against me, and I have the proof. And on the morning of September 8th, China's family and friends, they're gathered outside of the courthouse. They're doing a prayer vigil. They're just trying to do everything they can to keep spirits alive and hope alive for China's ultimate, I don't know, sentencing, what's going to happen next. And then they hear back from the judge that her motion about Linda and Demetrius and Terry was denied. So we are still going forward with this sentencing phase as planned. And this is a real blow to China because, I mean, I see death around the corner. Like, she's feeling it. And the jury is still deliberating, and they come back and they are deadlocked in the sentencing phase. And because of this, the court then imposes a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that sentencing was handed down on September 9th, 2008. The prosecutor said that he was not disappointed that the jury did not recommend the death penalty, and he said, quote, "I respect their decision. The defendant will spend the remainder of her days in prison." The prosecutor also said, quote, "Now there are 24 people who have found the defendant guilty as charged." China's attorneys promised to appeal and said, quote, "The fight is not over. There are witnesses out there that know that China is innocent," end quote. And he made a public promise to assist China until she is a free lady.
NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my best in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers spend $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus impressive in Iowa. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
There's nothing like getting a fresh perspective from experts who've seen it all and have the wisdom to prove it. Right now, I am studying Black Love, of course, a masterclass given by Angela Davis, Nicole Hannah-Jones,
And make sure
and more.
I need to get. I'm buying toothbrushes. I need everybody
More best. For just $10 a month, billed annually,
we all to brush
membership
our
with
teeth
Masterclass gives
twice
you
a fucking
unlimited
day.
access to every.
I know y'all be skipping brushing teeth and taking showers. You cannot be doing that.
Whether you're a history buff like me, want to get more into gardening, or if you're trying to learn how to spot a liar, you can learn all those things through.
Trying to wait for Monday.
Plus, every new
We gotta go get my fucking pick up my money from somewhere because the stupid ass person didn't drop it off. So I gotta go pick up my fucking money. We're gonna go get some. We're all gonna get some new clothes.
At masterclass.com/SWK. See Masterclass's latest deal at least 15% off at masterclass.com/SWK. Masterclass.com/SWK.
China files an appeal because she and her attorney believe that after Linda came out with her new affidavit, that should have already gotten her a new trial off of that alone. So she gets an evidentiary hearing on November 3rd of 2008. And at this evidentiary hearing, Linda testifies. Now, she goes back to her initial conversation with Detective Galbraith, and he's like, did China tell you anything? And she's like, nah, she said she can't remember. That statement was true. And they was like, okay, so why you going to tell the prosecution something different? And Linda said, I was scared. I just told them what they wanted to hear. She said she was afraid of being arrested. She just got out of jail. She said they going to take her kids from her. Like, she's got a lot to be scared of. She got a lot to lose.